Hello and welcome to Catherine's Garden and also Lady Wisdom Speaks. I'm here with you because I wanted to get a little bit of the outdoors because I've been indoors all day cooking, yes, and I was cooking a lasagna. Today I have decided to make lasagna for my family. They love my lasagna. That was the one thing that I could make very well and that my family really enjoyed was and is still my lasagna. When I cook a lasagna or bake a lasagna, I do it my way. Yes, I do it the Catherine way. And I'm not a cook. I usually don't like to cook. Now Karen loves lasagna. She's always asking and requesting that I cook her some lasagna. And you know what? I made this lasagna when I first got married. My aunt used to get the government cheese, the box of government cheese, you know, that yellow big brick of cheese. And I said, well, what can I make with this cheese? And I happened to see the lasagna noodles recipe on the box. And I said, oh, I know what I can use with that cheese. I can make lasagna. And that's how this all came about. Me making lasagna is from the box of government cheese that my aunt had gotten. And I decided that I'm going to use it to make lasagna. How many of you have ever used or ate government cheese when it was given out? You know what I'm talking about? It's kind of funny, huh? But that's how it began. And that's about, let's say, a good 30 years ago or so. Yeah, a long time. So that's how my making of lasagna began, and that's how I've been able to improve on it, to work on it, and my family really loves it because I usually do it as a treat and at certain times. I don't make lasagna all the time because if I did, then they'll get bored of it. But this way that they would be able to continue to like my lasagna, I only do it in special occasions so that it stays fresh and new and exciting. A lasagna, and I use the tomatoes from my garden to make the tomato sauce. So I have these very fresh tomatoes from the garden, and I decided that I wanted to make my own tomato paste. And if you haven't seen my video on making tomato paste, then go back and check it out. I'll leave it in the description. And then because I want to use up these tomatoes before they spoil, and also because I know that my tomato paste tastes really good. Usually I use the classical tomato paste, and it has tomatoes, herbs, and spices. But I can make my own tomato paste and use that tomato sauce, I should say, to put in my lasagna. So that is my intention. And I also put in some of the fresh green peppers from the garden too that I had in the refrigerator. I loosely chopped the green peppers, and I'm going to add them to the hamburger mixture and let it kind of wilt down and soften before I add the tomato sauce to it. To make the sauce, it was a meat sauce. So it came out really, really nice. I like how it smelled. It was savory, but yet sweet and delicious. And so I want you to come with me through the process. Now, you know, when I cook a lasagna or bake a lasagna, I do it my way. Yes, I do it the Catherine way. And I'm not a cook. I usually don't like to cook, but I I found that through the garden and going from garden to table, that whole idea of utilizing what we have grown to feed ourselves with, that I have really started to enjoy cooking, or at least the idea of cooking. You know, even if I really don't want to cook, I enjoy the idea of cooking. But yes, I decided to cook this lasagna. I decided, let me share with you all my lasagna. So I began cooking the lasagna by using the lasagna noodles, and then of course I needed to get together the middle part, which is the cottage cheese, eggs, and cheese. And then I also started with the meat. Yes, I decided I'm going to work on the meat sauce. So I got some hamburger meat from Costco. Organic, and I wanted the meat to be very flavorful. So what I did was I cut up some onions, seasoned the meat, and put it in the refrigerator overnight so that it could then marinate, and that those wonderful seasonings could actually go into the meat. And it worked out pretty good, I think. You could smell the onions when I was cooking it. I could smell the onions in the meat, and the flavor and the scent was just beautiful. Well, I have cut up the green peppers and put them in the mixture, but I also added some tomatoes. Well, I was able to boil the noodles, cook the meat, simmer it, and I added extra tomatoes and things to it just so that it could have that extra bite, that extra taste, that extra flavor. Two small tomatoes from my garden, a different type of tomato, just to add some color and to give some chunkiness to the meat sauce. The tomatoes have melted down and the meat is well cooked. You want to make sure that it's nice and brown, and a lot of the fat has burned off, so there's no need for me to drain anything. So what I'm going to do is now add the tomato mixture to this, and it's going to change this color. Don't be discouraged by how it looks, because as you mix it in, the color will turn more brown and it's going to look really, really pretty. The sauce is going to just look great. But that's what it looks like so far. I'll show you when it's finished. Well, after that, I was able to boil the lasagna noodles. And then I put the whole thing together, layer by layer. Now you can be original with your lasagna. You don't have to stick to the package directions. But I use the package directions as a guide to help me with the process of creating the lasagna. And I found it to be very helpful because, that way you can get the measurements kind of right. If you know what I mean. So you can look at the package. I've given you the package. It is from the box. And I know that it's going to taste really, really good. So the first thing I decided to do was to pre-season the meat so that it'll have flavor. So what I've done is I've cut up the onion and also seasoned the meat with salt and pepper and put it in a plastic baggie. Then put it in the refrigerator, not the freezer, but the refrigerator, and allow it to marinate. The meat will marinate, and to spend the night, overnight, in the refrigerator, so that the seasoning can go into the ground beef and give a lot of flavor. To make the middle or the center of the lasagna, I'm going to use cottage cheese and 2 eggs. And this is a 16-ounce container of cottage cheese. I didn't use a special kind. Sometimes I use Hood, but I just decided to use the Stop and Shop brand, which works quite fine for me. Looks like this. And I used the 4% milk fat minimum small curd grade A cottage cheese. And I decided to use the Sargento because it was on sale, 2 for $6, something like that. And I chose these 2 types of cheeses to blend in, and the double cheddar cheese. So it'll have a nice flavor with 2, I would say medium-sized eggs. So that's the center. That's like right here. It's going to go right in the middle here. A layer. Yeah. And for the lasagna noodles, this particular lasagna noodles were on sale. So I used this. I selected this. And so I'm going to boil or cook them in some water. And the directions say to preheat oven to 375, cook pasta according to package directions, drain and set aside. Meanwhile, in a skillet, saute onions, but I've already added the onions with the meat. So I'm going to just put that all into the skillet and let it brown well into cooked, thorough, and crumbly. And then I'm going to blend or make a sauce with the tomatoes. I'm going to put it in my NutriBullet, in my blender. Blend it so that it's liquidy or not too, kind of liquid forming. The tomatoes and the peppers, I'm going to just dice up the peppers and add them to the whole meat sauce. And that's going to create the meat sauce. And it says add here, add 3 1/2 cups sauce to the sausage mixture. So I'm not using sausage, I'm using ground beef. So it's going to be the ground beef mixture. Then I have my my dish that I'm going to use to layer and put in the, just like the baking dish here. I'm going to do that. Use the baking dish and layer the lasagna. Well, I've completed layering the lasagna, and this is what it looks like. I'm now going to put it in the oven, but first I'm going to cover it with foil, then put it in the oven, let it bake for about an hour, then uncover it in the oven for about 10-15 minutes, and then let it sit aside for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to cut into it and eat it. Or something like that. So this is what it looks like. And then popped it in the oven, and it turned out pretty good, I think. When I looked at it, it was bubbling up and looking good, and I like the final product. I like how it looks, and I like how it turned out. Well, here we are. Here's the final product. This is the lasagna that I've just made. It's hot, and I'm going to let it rest for about 15 minutes, and then my family and I, we're going to dig in and enjoy this lasagna. Yum, yum. Well, I hope you enjoyed this process, and as I said, it's a very simple lasagna to make, and you could do whatever you want. You could layer it anyhow you want, add as much cheese as you want, make it your own. That's what I did. I made it my own. Now, I'm going to taste it with Karen and my husband. We're all going to come together and we'll have it for dinner. So another time I'll share with you us eating. But for right now, this is it. This is the recipe, and this is the process that I use to make the lasagna. Have a great day. Bye. I hope that you've had a great day. And if you like this video, then like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you make lasagna? And is yours original? Do you follow a recipe, or do you make it your own way? And also, I just wanted you to see the garden. See that the leaves are changing. Everything is looking so different. And this is my favorite tree in the garden, at least one of them. At least for right now. You see how the light is on it? So beautiful. Yes, I feel like it is aglow. My golden tree. Well, have a great day. Bye.